This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook because it's time for the African American Scene presented by Howard Insurance. And your host is Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Plenty of stuff going on. We're having a knockdown, drag-out fight between Congress and the executive branch. Looks like Congress is starting to make a little headway. They've won a couple court decisions, and they're bound to put contempt on Attorney General Barr and on his cohort that's responsible for the census. Okay, very interesting. Let me give an acknowledgement to Chuck, who calls from time to time and who I do regular battle with on Facebook. He turned me on to a site called Nowhere News. That's KNOWHERE News. Now, let me tell you why that's of value. It is a non-political news site. And in some cases, they'll cover a story. If you go to the site, and they'll give you the left point of view, and they give you the right point of view, which I found very interesting. They also even evaluate the media as to who is left bias and who was right bias. And I didn't see anything there that I really disagreed with. And some of the stories I found very interesting because they would give you the left point of view and the right point of view. And in the future, I will surely use some of that information for some of my shows. But I want you to check it out. Nowhere News, KNOWHERENEWS. Worth checking out, especially for those of you
who are in the know.
Well, that want to be independent. And I think my man Chuck sent this to me because I accused him. He telling me all the time that he was independent and he didn't have a point of view, and I was challenging that. And so he sent this to me, and when I looked at it, I said, well, okay. That's about as fair and as balanced as you're going to get, that news site. So he got some credibility back with me, although he is a closet conservative, but at least he is somewhat fair-minded. So unlike some of my other conservative friends who just have lost their way in terms of being open-minded to any other thoughts other than conservative thoughts. But anyway, let's talk about my subjects. We're going to have open mic night. And I just gave you topic number 1. Check out Nowhere News. Topic number 2. Is lobbying affecting our elections? Is lobbying affecting our elections? I'm interested in your point of view on that. Topic number 2. The racial wealth gap in the United States. I have some interesting information about the racial wealth gap. And I know that's one of those topics that really gets my conservative friends all at Twitter about the racial wealth gap, but there is information substantial that documents it and even gives you a historical perspective for why the racial wealth gap exists. And I don't want you to necessarily buy it, but at least listen to it, because sometimes there's been people that have listened to me here that I had a relationship with who have become a little cool with me now because they don't like some of the things I say, and I understand that. I don't expect you to agree with everything I say. But anyway, the racial wealth gap. Then here's an interesting one. I said this to Cliff earlier. I posted this on Facebook, and if I have time, I will pull up some of the comments that I got back. I do that. I try to do that if I can think of it soon enough before the show. The question I posed on Facebook this week was, how many of you have lost friends or associates due to politics? And that includes family. How many of you out there have lost friends or family due to politics? And that does include family. And I really hope you call about that, because I'd like to explore that, because I think that is absolutely stupid that happens. And it only happens for one reason, because we get so entrenched in our tribes, we can't allow for any information to come from outside the tribe and give it any credibility. There's one person in particular that I had a fairly good relationship with, that I enjoyed, and he and I did a lot of back and forth on politics. He could not accept any information that did not come from a conservative source. And he never could see the hypocrisy of things that the right did that were similar to the things that he complained about the left, which Cliff and I talk about all the time.
I was going to say, it sounds like somebody who listens to this station.
Yeah, he does. he might even be listening now. But he was so well, he and I we don't communicate anymore. We both unfriended each other. Just couldn't. Wow. It couldn't go anymore.
But it happens to everybody, though. It happens to family members of people.
Yeah.
I got in a lot of trouble because, a few years ago, when the calls were slow coming into this show, I'd say something really nice about Obama, and the phones would start ringing.
Yeah.
Because they're over there doing it again. There they go. Okay.
And then lastly, my topic. Who's going to win, Toronto or Golden State? Now, I have to tell you, I am pretty much a Golden State fan. I was a diehard Heat fan, and my man D. Wade retired now. And before that, I was a Philly fan, and my 76ers are coming back. But I got to tell you, I have found huge respect for Kawhi Leonard. Boy, Cliff, I know you don't know much about basketball, but I call Kawhi Leonard the silent assassin. He goes out and scores 30. He don't talk no junk. He don't beat on his chest. He don't jump up and down. He just kills you. And when the game's over, he's got 35 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. Just an absolute killer.
The statisticians are still busy figuring out what he just finished doing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's like amazing. But what I like about it is he reminds me, he's the equivalent of Barry Sanders in the football. If you remember Barry Sanders when he played football, Barry would put 19 moves on you, go into the end zone, score a touchdown, and then hand the football to the referee. No jumping up and down, no celebrating, no nothing.
No happy dance?
No happy dance, just here's the football. I just scored a touchdown. And that's kind of like a Kawhi Leonard thing. So anyway, those are my topics. I encourage you to call up. Especially would like to hear what you have to say. I had some people call up. I had one person who used to work for me when I was the manager of the Maryland office, and he now lives in Tampa. Good guy, he's one of my good employees. And he wrote back to me today when I made the post, and he said, Rudy, I refuse to talk about politics to any of my friends. and some of them are deeply entrenched in one side or the other. I just won't talk about it, and my friends know I won't talk about it. So I guess that's one approach. Now, here's why I do it. And I have had some of my friends tell me, you're just beating your head up against the wall. And I go, yeah, maybe so. But I do it because I learned from the Affordable Care Act, when you allow people to make up stuff and you don't challenge it, it becomes truth. So they made up all kinds of stories about what the Affordable Care was. It was going to be death squads, death panels to determine whether you live or die, all kinds of fallacious things about what the act did. And Democrats and progressives did nothing, absolutely nothing to fight back. So it stuck, and people hated it until people finally figured out what it was. Now, all of a sudden, gone from people hating it to like 70% of the people like it. And that's strictly because nobody fought back when they were saying all of those erroneous things that the Republicans are prone to say about that. The second thing that made me do that is making me do this. And believe me, I don't want to do it all the time, but I feel like I have to. They convinced the vast majority of Americans that Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11. Cliff shaking his head.
Well, come to find out, there were a lot of Saudis involved in that operation.
Yes. It was almost all Saudis.
Yeah.
I think 17 out of 19 were Saudi or from Saudi Arabia.
So why did we attack Iraq then?
Well, because they convinced the American public that the 9/11 attack was from Iraq. There are people to this day, I will bet you anything you want to bet, there are people listening to me right now who still believe that Iraq was responsible for 9/11.
Remember the mantra: weapons of mass destruction.
Absolutely.
Over and over and over.
Yep.
And when you hear it over and over again, it locks in.
Of course it does. And so they said it enough times. And I remember a young lady used to work for me. She came in and she said, well, why would you be against that when Iraq came over here and did that to us? I said, who told you that? I said, that's absolutely not true. So what I'm saying is that, out of pure conscience, I feel compelled to fight back in order that some of this misinformation does not set in as truth, because I think that's very destructive. Because I think most people, when they have the full story, they will behave and respond responsibly. And we got Jay on line one. How are you, my friend?
Okay, good evening, Rudy, and to your co-host. I'm glad you brought up 9/11.
Hey, Jay.
That seems to be bringing back.
Jay.
There he
go
is.
ahead.
Okay, how you doing, Jay?
Doing great.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
No, I'm just glad you brought up 9/11 because I get disgusted, because I was there in New York when that happened.
Yeah.
And I almost got caught going downtown to Chambers Street. I was on my way, and the train, they stopped all the trains leaving Brooklyn, going into Manhattan, and I was on that train. They stopped. And, I got back home. But the thing that gets on my nerve is, they had to use a talk show host to come to the lobby for the firefighters and all the first responders.
Oh, I saw
who
that.
were suffering.
I saw that yesterday, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very sad because these people can give billionaires tax relief, but they can spend money when they want to. And you talking about what about these people lobbying? Well, that's what the problem is in Washington, the lobbyists. That's the biggest problem. It just goes on and on and on, and that's all they care about. is these defense contractors that like they talk about Trump. Oh, he's giving all this money to the military. That is great. That's why. No, the money that the money is going to the defense contractors, the people that build the F-35 fighter jet that he wants to sell to Saudi Arabia, who had 18 people that was on those planes that that crashed into the World Trade Building. Okay,
I agree.
That's real.
I agree.
That's true. That's a true statement. But you will never hear anybody on CNN or MSNBC bringing that out. Everybody kind of keeps quiet about all that stuff, and they let Saudi Arabia do whatever they want. Now they're over there raising hell in the Middle East. Killing babies, using our bombs, using our ammunition to kill innocent people, women and children over there. And it goes on, and now they want to sell. After all the stuff that Saudi Arabia did, they want to sell. He wants to sell them some of our best fighter jet planes. But it's going to, it's not, it's going to the aircraft maker, the people that's making the jets.
That's right.
And it just goes on and on. That's the lobby. That's what's happening. You talk about lobbyists? That's the problem in Congress, and that's the problem with the U.S. Senate. And that's why these firefighters have to keep coming back and forth to Congress just to get compensation for doing their job.
Oh, that was
doing their job.
That was very, very sad. I saw that yesterday. Yeah. He was almost in tears.
Yeah.
That he had to sit up there and fight for them to get health benefits, and those guys are dying of cancer.
Yeah. They're
disabled. What a disgrace.
It is. It is just terrible, and it just goes on, and they just keep making. Well, we'll give you something for a couple of years, 5 years for the compensation. I think they call it Victims Compensation Fund, 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund, and that'll be it, and that's all you need. And then now it runs out next year, and so now the House there, the sub House was today they had yesterday they had the hearing. And so they passed and went on to the Senate. But McConnell said he hadn't read it yet. This is a guy that leads the Senate that, he's Dr. No. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want any bills unless it's something coming from the president, or if it's confirming some judges that don't even know what a courtroom looks like. That's all he's interested in, is putting all these hacks on the judgeship. And they need to change the laws on that instead of they shouldn't make it a life appointment. They should just make it 4 or 5 years and see how they work out, and then, replace them if they, make an automatic replacement.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on, and I hope some of you call, or some of the people listen, kind of wake up and see what's going on in this country, and where's the priorities? Is the priorities with the lobbyists, or is the priorities with the average, ordinary, citizen in the United States that's trying to make it, got kids trying to send them to college and pay bills and health care. A lot of them worrying about what are they going to do if they have a terrible thing that happens to them and they wind up with a lot of medical bills. So those are the things that Congress should be worrying about instead of worrying about these lobbyists. Thanks a lot, Rudy.
Okay, all right, Jay. Listen, he didn't say one thing I disagreed with. First of all, I'm going to say this. I said this about 2 years ago, and I'm going to say it again. And there's people out there now that's going to kick their radio when I say this. We are wasting money spending it on all this hardware. That's not where the war is being going to be fought now. That's not where the war is going to be fought. We are so superior to all the other countries on the planet in terms of defensive and offensive hardware. There's nobody that can compete with us. But you know where they can compete with us? On the internet, on the highways and byways of space and air. That's where the war is. And we are falling behind because we have to satisfy the defense contractors to make more bombs and make more planes. That money, a sizable amount of that money, should be invested in internet. And I would say this, because I know what we're capable of doing when we have a mind to and we put our will behind it. There is nobody in the world that would outdo us if we made a concentrated effort on the internet and strengthening our tools that are available to us on the internet and to strengthen our defenses from attacks on the internet. I don't believe anybody could compete with us if we made a focused effort.
If we had the right amount of 11-year-olds out there with their cell phones, they could run the next war.
Oh, listen.
Kids with their cell phones.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the technology is way out there.
Yeah, this is not about bombs and rockets and airplanes, and this is about moving to the next level, trying to develop some internet strategy, some internet capabilities, and some internet defenses. That's what we should be doing instead of putting all this money in the hardware, because all the other countries have given up. They know they can't compete with us on that. That's like dead. And we have John. Yes, John.
Hi, Rudy. How are you?
Okay.
Been a while.
Yes.
What I wanted to tell you is that the affordable health care that everybody calls Obamacare, that was modeled after Mass Health, which was put together by Mitt Romney up in Massachusetts.
That's correct.
I don't know. Yeah, kind of followed the guy.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
The people who opposed it, who made a big thing of it, try to get rid of it so they could make money another way, I guess. Never mentioned that, And what I wanted to tell you is I got called up for the draft in '66. That was the height of Vietnam.
Yep.
And I had been married 5 years. I only see with one eye. Had a few other medical problems. So I didn't want to go, trust me. But on the other hand, I didn't, bring them a shopping bag full of reasons,
Right.
But they gave me a deferment, So I have some friends. They're older military guys, and they're Republicans, far right-wing conservatives. They hate Obama, love Trump.
Right.
And when they find out, I got a deferment, I get all kinds of questions and criticism. So from now on, I'm just going to say bone splitters.
I should have known that was coming from you, John.
Anyway, I wanted to tell you that I got my old job back Monday, but I got fired Tuesday. Well, the job was a stripper.
Yeah, okay.
And the reason I got fired is they said I was making the women squint.
All right, John.
And that's all I have to say.
Okay, John. Thank you. All right.
Oh, my.
Oh, that's John. He's a funny guy, man.
Yeah.
I expect that stuff from him. But anyway, so listen, and I'm very serious about that. And if there's a person out there with an ounce of intelligence, they'll know everything that I just said was true about the internet. Because nobody, if we put our mind to it, there's nobody out there that can compete with us, because we got some of the greatest minds in the world, some of the best universities in the world, and we crank out some pretty good people out of some of our schools. So, but now let's talk about lobbying for a second, because that was what Jay was talking about, and I did some research on this. Lobbying has had a negative effect on our electoral process. And I'm going to tell you why. It has, the big businesses, heavy-duty lobbying, have impacted union membership. In 1983, 20% of all jobs in this country were unionized. Fast forward to 2018, you know what percentage of jobs are unionized in this country now? 12%. Now, at the same token, this bared out, I didn't even realize that when I was doing some research, the research came out that the income levels dropped dramatically from 1983 to 2012, right along with what I'm telling you happened with unions. Now, in case you don't believe it, now you keep getting told this scary story about unions and socialism and this and that and the other. Unions provided the working person with a voice. Were they always right? The answer is no. Did they destroy some industries? The answer is yes, they did. But by the same token, people deserve a right to have representation. So in effect, what you did is you took away the people's right to have representation by diminishing the unions, which basically started with Reagan disbanding the air traffic controllers. And then the conservatives went on the war path against the unions because there's a tendency for the unions, in most instances, to vote Democratic. So what? I'm going to say about that again. So what if they vote Democratic? Convince them to vote Republican. This is what I keep telling you all the time. You take the approach all wrong. You want to stop anybody from voting that doesn't vote the way you want to vote instead of winning them to vote the way you want them to vote. But you know why you can't win them? Because there is no flexibility. Just like I told you, my friend I lost, there's no flexibility. The only way that you can accept that which comes from them is that they do it the way you want to do it. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. And one of the things that I've said before on here, one of the great examples of all times is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I know some of you listen to me, and this is a repeat. Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia were best friends. Best friends. They went on vacations together. They often went out to dinner together. And you could not find two people more philosophically different than Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia. But I can tell you why that is a possibility. And you know why that happens? You know why they're able to do that? Because they have a discussion based on fact. The discussions that Ruth and Antonin Scalia had were based on fact. And we got Alec on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, how are you?
Okay.
Hey, Rudy, listen, my whole entire life, I was not really much of a politics kind of guy. And I only really got into politics of late, really because as you get older, you kind of pay attention a little bit more, and I didn't really do a lot of paying attention when I was younger. And I just have, I'm confused how you are an educated man, a man of color, and on your show, right after you're done, Larry Elder comes on.
Uh-huh.
A man of color, well-educated, radio talk show host, just like yourself. And the opinions between you and him are 100% opposite.
Yes.
And now I hear you and I hear him, and I say to myself, maybe I should have not got into listening to politics, because it's just unbelievable to me how two people, and I'm not talking about just you too. I have friends who I know my whole life, who I have been friends with my whole entire life, and they have the entire complete opposite aspect when it comes to Trump, when it comes to politics, when it comes to just about everything. They can't agree on one single thing. And I need somebody to try to help me. Whether maybe I shouldn't listen to politics anymore because it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Can you help me with that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, what we have to first start with, Alec, is fact. Can we start with facts? That's why I used the Ruth Gator Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia example. You got two brilliant legal minds at opposite ends of the spectrum who were best friends. And the reason why they were best friends is because they had a debate or a disagreement about facts. What has happened with us, this is my opinion, and I also read a book not long ago, Tribalism by Amy Chua, where she talks about this. We have become so tribal within our respective parties that we can't allow for information to come from the outside that can affect our thinking. That's no good. Because, listen, my freshman year, I told Chuck this. My freshman year, my philosophy professor said, if you want to be a thinker, he said, this is what I'm going to give, the thought I'm going to give you that you have to leave my class with today. If you have a point of view and you can't defend it, you have to surrender. You have to rethink it. So if you can't defend your point, you got to rethink it. Now, we're at a point now, Alec, and I think you might have hung up on me. But
I think there was a toddler involved in
it. But Alec, what I want you to understand is that we're at a point now that if somebody disagrees, you don't even take the time to find out why they disagree or the basic of their disagreement. It's just that I think this way and they think that way, and that's good enough for me because they're wrong and I'm right. No, that's not right. If I think one way and you think the other, then you should be able to at least enlighten me as to why you feel that way and make it so that I understand it. I can live with that. Because if I take a position, I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. I'm going to give you facts and figures to back up why I feel that way. And then at the end of the day, if you decide, well, I still can't live with that, that's okay. But at least you got a point of view from me, not me spouting rhetoric, empty rhetoric that's based on nothing. That's what gets us in trouble.
Based on what you heard somebody say. It sounded good saying it, like Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh or somebody. They can say it so eloquently, but doesn't mean it's true.
Well, I saw an interview with Ted Koppel. You remember who Ted Koppel from ABC News? Mm-hmm. He was interviewing Sean Hannity, and he was giving Sean Hannity a lecture for the presentations that he makes on Fox News. And Sean Hannity said, but I'm not a journalist. He said, yeah, you say that, but you present yourself as a journalist. And he said, you're very good at it. But the fact of the matter is Sean Hannity's not a journalist, and he don't profess to be promoting truth. He promotes a point of view. So now therein lies part of the problem, which is what Alec was trying to find out. You got Sean Hannity, who comes on every night and promotes a point of view, not based on fact, but not everybody listening to him understands that it's not based on fact and that it's a point of view. So they walk away from that saying, well, Sean Hannity said that, so that's got to be the real deal. No, that's not the real deal because it's not necessarily fact-based. It's an opinion-based. It's like Alex Jones. And I don't know what's happened to that lawsuit yet, but Alex Jones said that the kids that were shot in Newtown was a hoax. I wanted to punch him in his face for saying that. Can you imagine having a kid that got killed in that horrible, horrific situation?
And then somebody's going to come forward and say something stupid like that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Nobody knows the reality of what went on, like a parent of one of the children that were killed.
Yes.
And, you know,
Well, they sued him, you know. I don't know what the status of the suit is, but the parents sued him for making that statement with the idea that he's caused them great pain and suffering from alleging that it was all a farce. Now, see, that's the kind of thing that is destructive to us as a people. See, and now that's not Democrat, that's not Republican, that's called people respect. Why would you say that? And you know that's not true. For sensationalism and to get more people rallied to your side based on information that is not accurate. That is bad. And that's where we are right now in our tribes. The tribes, and then the tribe feels that it has to protect you. And let me just tell you, let me say this to you, and I said this earlier today on Facebook. If the Democratic president was in the White House and he lied the way Trump lies, here's my hand to God, I would not support that man. He would not have my support. The man lies like people breathe, and then people support him. I can tell you there would be no Democrat that could be sitting in the White House and lie the way he lies and get my support. I would not support him. Just wouldn't happen. I don't care if he's a AAA Democrat. Would not get my support. But anyway, so but that's part of so Alex, that's what I'm telling you. That's where we are. And Larry Elder is one of those people. Now, I'm going to say this to you, and there's going to probably be some black folks out there that's not going to be happy with me, but there are black people that have figured out that if they say the things that conservatives want them to say, they will get rich. They'll make a lot of money because then white conservatives can use them as cover. Because if the black conservative says it, then you can't call me a racist because you got a black conservative that says the same thing. Well, hell, God bless America. Everybody has a chance to make money, so they're making money on coming about with an opposing point of view that is acceptable because it gives people cover. That's my opinion, Alex. That's why it happened. That's why you have a Larry Elder or a Candace Owens. They can make a lot of money by holding up a point of view that protects conservative philosophies. Ha ha. Now, I notice some of you want to call up and attack me on that. That's okay. But I can give you an example of that, but that I don't want to do that unless you just push me in that direction. But anyway, I think we ought to take a break. We're coming down to the last 15 minutes. And that number again is 340-1590. And is it going to be Toronto or Golden State, the new basketball world champs?
340-1590, by the way.
Serving the entire Treasure Coast, Howard Insurance & Associates in Port St. Lucie offers a wide variety of insurance products, along with the very best customer service. Whether you're shopping for the best homeowners coverage at the most affordable value, contact Rudy Howard's team at Howard Insurance & Associates. If you need coverage for your vehicle, call Howard Insurance & Associates, 343-9878. That's 343-9878. Maybe you're planning to add a boat, motorcycle, or RV. Call Call Howard Insurance and Associates for your free quote at 343-9878 and get the coverage you need at a cost that will fit your budget. For home or business, auto or recreational vehicle, choose Howard Insurance and Associates, 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Suite 206, Port St. Lucie. And for your free rate quote, call them at 343-9878, 343-9878.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to the African American scene. Once again, here is your host, Rudy Howard.
Now, getting back to this lobbyist thing in unions, and let me tell you why I am concerned about that. Hey, I'm at the end of the sunrise. You know, I don't have a whole lot of time left. So my concern now is with my grandchildren and my other relatives that are still trying to make it in the world. And with the destruction of the unions, it is making it harder and harder for those kids that don't graduate from college to make a decent living. And I know that may not be your intent by being down on unions, but that's what you're doing. And the truth of the matter is, you do not have to possess extraordinary intelligence to graduate from college. That I have told people a zillion times. You just have to be willing to put in the effort and do the studying, and you can get through there. You may not be valedictorian, but you can sure get your degree. But what you're doing by diminishing the unions is you're making it very difficult for your children or grandchildren that don't go to college to get a decent living. And as I said, when I was doing the research, there was a direct correlation between the decline in income and the decline in unions. Direct correlation. Median income, I can't remember this off the top of my head. I think it was $78,000 for white folks. It's now down to like $64,000. And that was just for a white family. And it's even much less than that for a black family. So keep that in mind. So when your friends are telling you how awful unions are, think about that. And matter of fact, a couple of the economists that I've read, like Robert Reich, and I can't think of the other guy's name. Well, I read something by Hedrick Smith, also, Who Stole the American Dream. One of the things that they say is a solution to some of the pay inequity is increased union activity. And because the unions are really a bargaining unit on behalf of the worker. So just keep that in mind, that's not a bad thing, because you have lobbyists that are in there spending multi-millions of dollars in order to get what they want for their business and the legislation passed that they want that will give them favorable treatment. And then you turn around and say you don't want individuals to have representation. I don't understand that. Maybe you can call up and straighten me out, but I just don't get that at all.
Well, we're about to see some action from lobbyists pretty soon, because here in Florida, the legislature is going to be considering to ban all assault weapons. And it's going to be the lobbyists, the NRA lobbyists, that are going to come in, and they're going to be screaming bloody murder over this. And we're going to see some action.
Yeah.
And 340-1590, if you can expound on that with us, right?
Yeah. And, well, you know what we have recently in the state of Florida? They decertified one of the teachers' unions, which is really, they decertified one teachers' union, and they're considering decertifying another teachers' union, which I think is like really bad, because if there's anybody that needs unions as teachers, that's for sure. But yes, they have decertified one of the teachers' unions, and it's under discussion to decertify another one. And we have Dave on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you today?
Good.
I heard you on the way in saying that if you heard somebody saying something that wasn't true, you want to disabuse them of that notion.
Well,
that's why you still discuss politics.
Well, I discuss politics, yes, because if they're saying something that I know is not true,
right.
If it doesn't,
so I just
yes, okay, yeah, all right.
You said something last week. I wanted to call you, but I couldn't find the number.
Okay.
You said that the Dreamers were born in this country, that their parents were illegal immigrants, and that's why we want to send them back.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
You didn't?
No.
That wasn't you?
Well,
it's all on video on YouTube, WPSLTV.com.
It was Thursday afternoon.
I wasn't on Thursday afternoon.
Oh, okay. Well, evening, I mean.
Okay, it's Wednesday evening. Well, let me tell you what I said. The Dreamers were people that were born here or came here at a very young age through no fault of their own, and were pretty much raised in here in the United States.
Okay, well, that's wrong. The Dreamers none of them were born here.
That's not true.
What do you call an anchor baby? If there's such thing as an anchor baby, then how can a Dreamer be born here? An anchor baby is somebody whose mother comes here and plops him out into the world in the United States. Then he's a dual citizen of wherever they came from and our country, because our country gives citizenship to anybody born in its borders.
That's true.
So how can a Dreamer be born here?
Okay, so if a mother comes here and her baby's born here in the United States, that's
right.
not a United States baby.
Yes, it is a citizen.
Is it a United?
Absolutely, it is.
Oh.
What's an anchor baby? If there's such a thing as an anchor baby, which I hope you agree there is, right? Then what is it? What does that mean?
Okay, what I'm going to say, what an anchor baby is a child that's born in the United States in the citizenship to people that are undocumented immigrants. That's what an anchor baby is.
Well, then how come they are citizens, and the so-called Dreamers that you're talking about, you have a special category for them that they're not citizens. They're born in this country, and they somehow aren't citizens. Everyone born in this country, everyone born in Guam, everyone born in Puerto Rico, they're all United States citizens. Every one of them.
I agree with that. All right.
Well, but you said that the Dreamers were born here. None of the Dreamers were born here. Not one of them.
That's not true.
Oh, Jesus. They're already citizens. If they were born here, why would they be a Dreamer?
If they were born here, okay, and their parents were not citizens, they were not natural citizens by virtue of their parents. So
no, see, you're agreeing with me, and then you're contradicting me in the next breath.
No.
Every single soul born in the United States or its territories or on its military bases, for that matter, are United States citizens by birth, not by any other reason. They are granted citizenship under our Constitution by birth. So there are no Dreamers that are non-citizens. I mean, that are citizens. There are no Dreamers that are born in this country. Not one of them. They were all born overseas and dragged across the border or flown across the border by their felonious parents who are trying to steal our American dream without following the rules. While three people that they lived with in Botswana or wherever the heck they came from are following the rules, and they have to wait longer now because we don't want 3 million new people every year.
Well, let me say this to you. A Dreamer could be someone that came here at 1 year old. Okay.
Yeah.
And
they weren't born here.
Okay. So all right. So let me just say, for the argument's sake, I will say, okay, you're right. So if somebody came here 1 year old, they lived here their whole life, and they're now 18, and you say they gotta go because they weren't born here, and they
I got
know
my arm chopped off of work, and I can't pay my car payment. My car's going too. It's a tough world. Okay, it's a tough world. That's right. Our country isn't the Salvation Army. It's the United States of America. Okay, if they need help, they need to go to the church that I worship at in the country that they're stuck in. And my church passes out money like it's going out of style all over the world to people who need money and people who need things. Okay, I don't think I should have to pay for people to be naturalized because they say that they're scared of crime in Guatemala. Then they come up here and they join.
No, Alec. Here's the deal. First off, I want you to get this because I think this is very important. One of the reasons why I have a lot of problems with some of the stuff you're saying is, do you understand that a large part of the United States was part of Mexico before it officially became the United States? Do you understand that? Did you know that?
We bought it and fought for it.
But do you know that part of it was in Mexico?
Part of it was Mexico, right?
Okay, so part of Texas was in Mexico, part of California was in Mexico, part of Arizona was in Mexico. So when you are discriminatory against people that are brown, it is possible. Wait, let me finish. It is possible you could be discriminating against somebody that's been here 10 generations.
Well, you know what? None of us were in Guatemala, and I didn't say a thing about Mexico.
Well, I'm just saying, though. Yeah, but I'm just saying that's the point.
They go back. And I never heard one Mexican in my life say anything bad about Mexico. I have to hand it to them.
Okay. All right, well, we're at the end of the hour. Listen, I'm glad you called in. And keep listening and call back again next week.
Okay, I will.
And thank you so much. And folks, I'd like to thank you for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe. And I'll see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
You see, we do take phone calls on this show, and you can speak your mind here if you like. And we'll be back next Wednesday night again. The African American Scene with Rudy Howard. Archives of this show are on Facebook in video format. Watch them at your convenience. Look for WPSL TV on YouTube. Larry Elder, the Sage, is coming up on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. The talk of the Treasure Coast, celebrating over 25 years and counting.